fellow Falcoholics. What is up? Welcome to another episode of the Dirty Birds and Brews podcast. I know these are some of people's favorite episodes because we're finally getting into the meat of draft season with the combine behind us, free agency just ahead of us, just a couple days. Probably some of the things I say in this show, by the time you listen to it, watch it, they'll already be invalidated because the free agency frenzy is going to start on Monday, and who knows what the Falcons will be doing between now and then with this show publishing on Friday. So we're just going to do the best we can to guess, but mostly this mock draft, which will be only the second one we've done this year. I got to give props to the Falcons for keeping us entertained enough to avoid an in-season mock draft. Of course, still didn't get to the playoffs or get a winning record, but at least they did that. So maybe that counts for something. I don't know. But regardless, the Atlanta Falcons have 5 picks in the 2025 NFL Draft. Only 2 in the top 100, which is not great, obviously. And we're going to talk about that, talk about some potential strategies, but there won't be any trades today. This will be the last mock where we don't consider any trades, just to kind of give you guys an idea of what it would be like if the Falcons can't make a trade, which, as you're going to see, it's difficult to pull off, especially without knowing anything about what's happened in free agency. And you guys already know, if you've listened to our last few episodes, money's tight, not impossible to make moves, certainly, but money's tight. They're not going to be able to splurge on guys. They're not going to be able to bring in Cousins and a receiver and 2 defensive players. Like, that stuff's not going to happen. So they're going to have to be selectively aggressive, and they're going to have to maximize what they can do in the draft. We'll talk about all that. We'll get through all 7 rounds today, 5 total picks for the Falcons, and see basically how the NFL Combine has kind of changed the board. I don't think it has changed it drastically. I think it's always kind of overblown how much it does. There's obviously some guys that really blow up the Combine and sort of launch themselves into the first round, but really I think the meaningful changes happen on day 3, where guys that were maybe fringe draftable players put on a show, get themselves drafted, get themselves earlier on day 3, or maybe even into day 2. So always fun to see the guys who really show out and kind of reward them with getting them some love in these mock drafts. So we're going to dive into that in just 1 second. Technically 1 minute, because got to thank our sponsor, of course, BetOnline, folks. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number 1 source for online betting in 2025. As I said before, unfortunately, no more NFL. No more NFL for a while, but the NBA is getting fired up. The NHL is underway, and March Madness is right around the corner. So no matter whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion with the largest selection of odds on everything. Like I said, NBA, college basketball, NHL, even UFC. BetOnline continues to be your number 1 sports betting source. From every 3-pointer to hat trick, BetOnline's got you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. Just make sure when you sign up to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to get access to the latest promotions over there. They're always running new stuff that's exciting, so make sure to check that out. And go to betonline.ag. BetOnline, the game starts here. All right, folks. We're going to dive into this mock draft. A couple of quick things to cover. The Falcons have 5 picks. They've got a first, a second, a fourth, and then 2 sevenths, both of which they acquired via trade. So 5 total picks, but only 2 in the top 100. The good news is those 2 are in the top 50, so at least there's that. But as you're going to see and you're going to hear me talk about, like, this Falcons team really, like, this draft is all about day 2, in my opinion. There's a ton, and I think early on day 3 too, to some extent. But there's a ton of talent on day 2. And I think you have to find a way to get more day 2 picks, at least a third. Hopefully, if you could get 2 day 2 picks somehow, like 2 extra picks through some kind of trade, or a player trade. I know we've mentioned Kyle Pitts. If he's on the move, you have to get a day 2 pick for him at minimum. They need to find ways to get more picks in here, because they don't have a lot of cap space. They need to get contributors. Now, they haven't done a great job at turning day 2 picks into contributors under Terry Fontenot. But that doesn't mean they should quit trying, because you're gonna have to figure it out sooner or later. And they got to find a way to make it work with these guys. So I think while there's no trades in this mock, I think a trade down for the Falcons is extremely likely relative to expectation, which is that the Falcons never trade down in the first round. They just historically don't, but they kind of have to. Like, they need to, and I think they will try very, very hard to trade down or at least somehow to acquire additional picks. That doesn't mean they'll be successful. I think the way this draft is set up is that there will be teams looking to move down. I don't know how many teams are looking to move up, but that may mean that they have to take less than ideal value to trade down. But again, given the makeup of this draft class, I don't think that's a terrible idea. I do think that a trade down as a whole is a good idea and something they need to figure out a way to pull off to help out this draft class and to help out this team, which desperately needs that young, affordable talent getting in the door. But enough said on that. Let's take a look at the picks themselves, starting with round 1. The Falcons pick 15th. For now, no, we're not trading today, but will be trades with this pick frequently in future mocks. I can guarantee that. But first edition of the mock draft went the classic route of taking an edge rusher. Went with James Pierce Jr. the first time, and I still think an edge rusher at 15 is very possible. There's a couple of things that give me pause. One is that Shamar Stewart definitely seems like their type, but given his performance, which is, most athletic edge rusher ever, like he surpassed Trayvon Walker, I think the chances of him making it to 15 are very low. And then there's Mike Green, who on the field, what I've seen, I love, and I would love to have him in Atlanta at 15. I think that would be a great pick. He's been going before 15 a lot. There is also the previous allegations of sexual assault, and the fact of the matter is that, the buzz is that his answers to questions about those previous allegations did not comfort teams at the combine, at least several teams, and multiple teams have removed him from their board as a result. And my total, my perception of this, my, just thoughts, this is not based on any reporting. This is not based on sources or anything like that. My personal take is, given what we know about the Falcons, that Mike Green won't be on their board. That's just my opinion. I'm going to operate under the assumption that he's not. On the field, Mike Green is a great talent, and I think he fits this defense really well. So I would be fine with him on the field being here, but it's up to, I can't vet any of these allegations or any of this stuff. I don't have access to that information. That's up to the teams to figure out. And given what we know about the Falcons and how they've operated in the past, it seems very unlikely to me that they would have Mike Green on their board at this point, at least not at 15, right? So I'm going to operate under the assumption that he's not in play for them anymore, or if you would rather, just that he's off the board before they pick, which happens all the time in mock drafts. So, whatever you think, I'm kind of leaving him off here. So, assuming that Stewart and Abdul Carter and Mike Green are not available, that kind of complicates things, because now you're looking at sort of the tier 2 edge rushers. I still like James Pierce. I'm not going to take James Pierce here again. I don't think that's necessary. We already have a situation where we took James Pierce. So we don't need to do that again. The one guy I think is really underrated, who I would still consider here, aside from James Pierce, is Nick Scorton from Texas A&M. I think he's really underrated. I think, he didn't have a great final season. He was playing way too heavy. Texas A&M did that for a lot of guys. Showed up at the combine a lot lighter. That's where he needs to play. That's where he played at Purdue when he was, looking like a top 10 pick. I still think he's a top edge rush prospect. I think it's possible you could get a discount on him. I would love to see if you could get him after a trade down. But if I had to pick an edge, with the three guys and James Pierce not included in that, it would probably be Nick Scorton. But we're going to go different route for this mock. And part of the reason I want to maybe wait on edge or the defensive line in general is because that's where the depth of this class is. There's a deep edge and defensive tackle group. So we're going to wait on that. We're going to go through this with a different style of pick here and go with one of my guys at 15. One of I think the cleanest evaluations in the entire draft. One of my favorite overall players. That's this probably won't shock people. Cornerback Jahdae Barron from Texas. Jahdae Barron is an instant impact player. I think he is a slot defender with elite potential in the NFL. He's got a ton of experience. He's played outside. He's played safety. He can fill any role you need, even though I think he should be your slot defender. I think he has elite potential in the slot, and that's a position that, as we know, is gaining a lot of importance. If the Falcons want to play this obsessive amount of nickel, which I don't know if they will under Ulbrich or not, but if they want to do that, I do think that getting an elite slot defender in here is critical to making that type of defense work. The team is not going to tender D. Alford. D. Alford may still come back, but that, it seems like they're willing to at least see if they can do something there, or perhaps I think they'll bring in competition no matter what, given last year being a down year. So I think Barron makes a ton of sense there. I think if D. Alford, gets back to form and you're comfortable there, you could have Barron play outside. And yeah, he doesn't have ideal measurables outside. He's 5'11". He is almost 200 pounds, which is phenomenal. I mean, that's why he's such a good slot defender. He's thick. He's a tough slot corner. He can play outside and played outside mostly his senior year and was great. So, he's not going to be the best matchup for huge receivers, but there's plenty of outside receivers that aren't that style, and I think Barron matches up against them really well. I think he answered, athleticism questions with a 4.39 40, had a 9.0 overall RAS. I have no questions about Barron's ability, really. I think the tape is elite. I think he's a super clean evaluation in the slot. I think he's going to impact the NFL game at a high level from the get-go. And that's exactly what I want from my first-round pick. There's so many guys that go in this range. I think Jalen Walker's a great example of projection, complete projection, betting on athletic traits and all that. And that's fine. You can have success doing that. But I have a hard time doing that when I have the choice of a player like Barron, who nobody's safe, right? I'll use the word clean. It's a clean evaluation. There's not really anything on tape that concerns you. And, outside of some size stuff where he's just not the ideal build for an outside corner, he doesn't really have question marks to me. So I think this is a plug-and-play starter that's going to just lift the entire secondary. I think you hope maybe you bring back Mike Hughes to play outside. You get Barron in the slot, and that should be a very, very good three-person cornerback room with A.J. Terrell as the CB1. And that will make things just so much better. The run defense, the ability to match up with teams who really like to emphasize the slot that the Falcons just haven't had, or at least they didn't have last year for multiple reasons, right? So Jahdae Barron, 15. I think, it's not, I don't know if it's the biggest need. Obviously, the pass rush is still the biggest need, but, I think by the time we get to this pick, it may not be a good value anymore. I mean, it may, and again, I think that's why we're probably talking about a trade down very seriously, because I think when you get to 20 or 22 or whatever, then the value starts to be a little bit more interesting at edge. But sticking at 15, I think the chances of them picking a non-edge player are probably higher than if they were to trade down. So we'll see how that plays out. But I think Jahdae Barron is just a slam dunk pick. So really happy to get him there. Moving on to round 2, which will be pick 46. Now we have to take an edge rusher. We got to take a pass rusher now, or at least somebody who's going to affect the quarterback. But like I said, it's a deep class. Someone's going to fall here, probably multiple guys. And we're going to go with a guy who I think is a bit polarizing, but someone that I do still like in edge, Princely Umanmielen from Ole Miss. Look, Umanmielen is a bit small, right? He's light. The run defense is going to be a question. He's a good athlete. Posted an 8.5 RAS. He's got some solid. He's got some solid length. He's a great pass rusher. This is a great pass rusher prospect. In some ways, kind of reminds me of Chop Robinson a little bit of a fashion where you're like, man, like the traits here, the pass rush. the traits here are elite. We just wonder, like, what can he give us or how soon? And I think Uman Mielen's a bit further along than Chop was. He obviously isn't the freak athlete that Chop was. He's a very good athlete. He's just not as crazy as Chop was. But some of the same questions there. Chop obviously hit the ground running, especially like the second half of his rookie season. So that does give you some hope for that sort of turnaround. But, Uman Mielen, elite pass rush win rate, very good pass rush production. He's a pass rush specialist, and the Falcons do need that. The run defense is going to be a problem early. There's the nebulous sort of character concerns that the Falcons are going to have to vet and figure out. Again, I can't weigh in on that, so he's on my board. But I do think you're getting him at a bit of a discount in the second round because of all that stuff. I think that the risk is worth it here. This is a high upside pass rushing specialist, much more than you typically get, around pick 50. And he's a guy that's probably going to have to be a pass rush specialist early on, but could provide sort of a big spark, I think, to Atlanta's front. I would like to see what he could do here, hopefully with some positive development. Moving on, no third rounder, unfortunately, sad. But we go to pick set 117 in the fourth round. Falcons still have a lot of needs because we don't know what they've done in free agency. They still probably will have a lot of needs even after free agency. But here in the fourth round, I'm really just looking for value, not trying to fill a need necessarily. I'm looking for, like, when they have so few picks, they have to find someone here at pick 116 that's going to contribute, and that means you can't really be too picky about position. Now, luckily in this simulation, which I forgot to mention, this is on PFS Mock Draft Simulator. Go check them out. That's my favorite simulator now by far. In this simulation, we actually see another one of my guys and another Texas secondary member, Texas safety Andrew Makuba, fall here to 116. Typically, he goes late in the third, but in this scenario, he does fall a bit, which I couldn't be happier about. So really here, it's like, okay, now we've sort of, as opposed to really solidifying the front, which I know a lot of people want, the Falcons do instead sort of solidify the secondary. I know there's a lot there. I'm sure people will have takes about that. But the value here with Makuba is great. I don't want to reach on a defensive lineman and pass on a potential starting safety in the fourth round just because the need is higher on the defensive line. But you get Jahdae Barron's teammate in here, guy that is already familiar with that. And Makuba as a coverage safety is very, very good. Like I think he is a great single high, split zone cover 2 safety. He's not, I wouldn't say he's a bad run defender. He's just not an impact run defender. He's got the want to. It's not like he shies away from contact, but he's small. I mean, he's basically smaller than Jahdae Barron. He's 5'11", 186, about 10 pounds lighter than Barron. So he's a smaller safety, and that's why he's going to fall a bit. But the coverage is phenomenal. I think he and Jesse Bates would form a very good duo. And I think, look, if the Falcons want to play a lot of too high, I don't know if they do, but the NFL as a whole is moving to a lot of too high. That's two great, deep safeties that you've got in Makuba and Jesse Bates. Two guys that can fly around, two guys that have great coverage instincts and ability to take the ball away. Bates is obviously, capable of playing closer to the line, and he's a great tackler and all that. And, the Falcons also do hopefully have DeMarco Hellams coming back healthy if they want more of that enforcing box safety in some packages or, in some situations that they could swap out. I think Makuba's a great fit. I think this is a great value add. He's a start. I think he can be a starting safety for you as a rookie. You just don't ask him to play in the box, right? Or if you do, just don't expect miracles for a 186-pound safety. But if he's playing too high or single high or playing interchangeable stuff with Jesse Bates on the back end, I think you're going to be very happy with what you get from Makuba from a coverage standpoint. And who knows? Maybe he could add a little weight. Maybe Jahdae Barron inspires him to get up to that into the 190s or whatever. And again, with Makuba, it's not really like a technique or want to issue with the run defense. It's just a lack of size, right? And I think that maybe over time you get a little more weight on him, get him in that NFL weight room and bulk him up a bit. But yeah, the Falcons have to if they don't trade down and get extra picks, this fourth rounder you got to treat like a third rounder. Like you need to get a contributor. And I think this is a perfect scenario for the Falcons if this were to play out. All right, now all the way down to the seventh round. Again, this is just the bed that the Falcons have made. Again, this is why I think a trade down to maybe pick up a day 2 pick and maybe a fifth rounder would be great to kind of fill out the rest of this class. But for another draft, right? So at pick 220 in the seventh round, that I believe this is the pick the Falcons will get from the Chargers. It's not official yet, so this could change. But the Falcons are getting a seventh rounder, not a sixth rounder, from the Chargers as a part of the Heineke trade. It hasn't officially been dealt yet, but it will be, I believe, when the league year starts. I believe it would be 220, but I'm not 100% sure. So, the number on this might change a bit, but it's the seventh round. Who cares? We're again, given how the Falcons have, not a lot of money and not a lot of picks, you got to try to find contributors here. And luckily, the depth of this defensive line class, particularly the depth at nose tackle, bears some fruit for the Falcons late with one of the nose tackles I do actually quite like falling into the seventh round. And that is defensive tackle Cameron Jackson from Florida, a guy who I think looked pretty good at the Senior Bowl. And look, if you're looking for a run-stopping nose tackle, this is a great option. He's a bully. 6'6", 328, over 34-inch arms. He's got the size you want. He is a massive wall in the middle of your defense. 9.3% run stop rate, which is elite. 80.9 run defense grade per PFF. This is a very good, I think, run defending nose tackle. He's not going to impact the pass game, right? I think you saw his overall RAS was 4.58, which is actually not bad. I think his actual 40 and 10-yard split were very respectable for a guy who's 6'6", 328. His jumps were not good, and that pulled, I think, his average down. I think if he hadn't jumped, that RAS number is probably closer to 6 or something. Again, I think for a run defending nose tackle, it's just not that important, and it's not like he's a 1 or a 0 or something. He's an average athlete. It's fine. This is a specialized early down nose tackle. He can push the pocket a little bit. He's got that bull rush. He's got the size. He's batted down several passes every year that he's played, so he's got that little thing to him. But he's not a pass rusher. He's not someone that's going to impact the passing game in a major way. That's not the reason he's here and the other guys went early is because a lot of these nose tackles can maybe have upside to impact the passing game more. I think Cameron Jackson is probably not going to be much of a pass rusher, but early down starter, someone that can take the pressure off of your lighter fronts. The Falcons are sticking to a nickel-focused defense, or they're going to play lighter with more, 3 safeties or less linebackers or whatever it is that they want to do back there. Having the option of this big space eater in the middle is, I think, something they need to find. And look, if you can get someone that's going to play meaningful snaps for you at pick 220 in the seventh round, that's absolutely what you want. That's what you're looking for. And I think a nose tackle is the perfect type of position to find that type of value here, especially in a really deep class where some guys are just going to fall as a result of that. So Cameron Jackson from Florida, love that one. And then round 7, pick 244. So we're getting almost to the end. As you guys know, I will probably be trading this pick away in almost every mock with trades that we do. But the Falcons kind of go in a different direction here, right? Whereas Cameron Jackson is sort of what you see is what you get. Good run defending nose tackle. Not really much upside. You just know he's going to be an early down contributor for you, and he's going to come off the field in passing situations. This pick is the opposite. This is total projection, total let's bet on traits and see if we can unearth something here. And this is, and if this guy actually falls here, given how he tested, that would be awesome. He may go even earlier than this, but there are reasons that he may not go earlier than this. We're going to talk about that. But we're going to go with linebacker Kane Medrano from UCLA. And first of all, I'm not going to claim to have watched a ton of Kane Medrano. What you kind of see from him is intriguing and very frustrating. He's a guy that looked good in coverage, and he's got some pass rush juice to him. But as a run defender, it's not good. And he posted a terrifying 26.0 missed tackle rate per PFF, which is catastrophic. And that's why he may still be here at this point in the draft. That's an unacceptable number, right? I mean, it just is. The reason that you consider drafting him and trying to develop him is that he posted a 9.72 RAS. He's nearly 6'3", 222 at the combine, but was rumored to play in the 230s. Hit a 4.46 40. He's got the makeup of a special teams demon and a coverage linebacker for you. Maybe a will at some point. The run and tackle linebacker. Now, obviously, we have to get the tackle part sorted out. But look, we're talking about nearly a UDFA, pick 244. He's got the traits. He actually is, I think, capable in coverage, which is nice to see from a linebacker. He does have some juice given that athleticism, but the tackling is not good, man. It is disastrous. So that's going to have to be fixed before he can play. I think this is an opportunity. Get him in, see if you can coach him up, see if you can get him contributing on special teams as a rookie, and see if you can unearth something here with that athleticism. There's obviously a path for him to have an NFL role, but yeah, I mean, the concerns are obvious. But again, I'm willing to roll the dice with pick for 244. I think that's you either go for these like sort of what you see is what you get, high, relatively high floor guys, but guys that are limited, or you just go for the no floor, high, potential ceiling guys that you can develop. And I think Medrano's an interesting one here at the end of this draft class. So yeah, guys, that'll do it. Real quick to recap the Falcons picks here. Falcons with cornerback Jahdae Barron in the first round at pick 15. Second round, Falcons finally got that edge rusher, Princely Umanmielen from Ole Miss. And next pick, round 4, pick 116, Falcons snapped up safety Andrew Makuba from Texas. Round 7, pick 220, went with nose tackle Cameron Jackson from Florida. And then final pick, round 7, pick 244, linebacker Kane Medrano from UCLA. Curious what you guys think about this one. Let me know, in the comments. I'm sure you will. And this is obviously a more secondary focused draft than the first one I did. This is kind of just a different look at what the Falcons could accomplish. In some ways I sort of like this one better. In other ways I don't like it as much. But I do think that, ultimately I think we're looking at a trade down, or some kind of additional asset pickup, because as you guys can see, it's pretty damn hard to address the multitude of needs that the Falcons have with 2 top 100 picks. I mean, it's like I can only do so much here. We're very lucky to have Makuba fall to round 4, so that's nice. But is that really going to happen? I mean, I don't know. So your hands are kind of tied. You're going to have to compromise somewhere, or but I think in this one, it kind of makes a type of sense, right? Where it's like, well, maybe we can't fix the front with this draft, but maybe we can fix the secondary because that's where the value came to us. And then they can go all in on the front going forward, if these guys pan out. So, we'll see how it develops. I do like this class. I hope you guys like it too. Leave your comments, subscribe. If you want to help the show, guys, the biggest thing you could do is subscribe. That helps. When we get a lot of subscribers in, YouTube starts putting, stuff higher on the list and starts showing stuff to other people on YouTube, and that also helps the show grow. So if you've lurked for a while and you haven't subscribed, if you could do us the solid, you don't have to turn on notifications. Like if you're someone that doesn't like notifications all over your phone, that's how my wife is. I totally understand. You could uncheck the notifications box for subscriptions, and you could just help us out with the subscription. Maybe. But either way, we appreciate you guys just watching, liking, all that stuff. We will have an early week show for you guys next week. free agency preview, some bold predictions from myself, some of which will either have happened or like, will be completely blown up by the time you see the show. It'll be early Monday, so it'll be before the legal tampering starts. But, I'm sure the team will quickly invalidate everything I've said after I record. And we are, obviously with the news that Falcons aren't tendering D. Alford. Alford is sort of preparing for free agency is basically what I can tell you. And, he wants to do the show. We want to do the show. It's probably going to have to wait until that's settled for him. So hopefully, maybe late next week or the week after, we'll have Alford on, hopefully back in Atlanta. But either way, we definitely want to we're still going to talk to Alford. Don't worry about that. But I think at this point, it makes sense to postpone until after his free agency situation settled. Obviously wouldn't want to get in the way of his business. that would not be good. We don't want to mess with anyone's livelihood here. So appreciate Alford for reaching out still, and we're really excited to talk to him, and we will keep you guys updated about when that show is gonna go off. But again, thanks so much for joining us here on Dirty Birds and Brews. I'm Kevin Hyatt, Falcoholic Kevin. Check out thefalcoholic.com for that written content. Thanks again to BetOnline for sponsoring today's episode. We will see you guys next time on the Dirty Birds and Brews podcast. Have a great day, folks.